Semitic Magic, Its Origins and Development by R. Campbell Thompson. Its reprint kind of resembles the old book, I think, but we'll see when we look at pictures of that. We're into the preface. The theories put forward or maintained in this book are based on a study of that intricate demonology which is gradually developed throughout the lands of Western Asia. Some people say it's degraded. If you look at some evidence, there's indication that just like ancient Egypt, there was some sort of a degradation going on from Old Kingdom to New Kingdom. Oh, it's a 1908 book. Okay, I found it. It's dedicated to his uncle, Frederick Thompson, whose counsels on the hillside, by the loch side, and on the broad waters have oftentimes served me. Okay. The theories put forward or maintained in this book are... Okay. The earliest written records of this magic are to be found in the cuneiform incantation tablets from Assyria, and aided by the various stepping stones afforded by rabbinic tradition, Syriac, monkish writings, and Arabic tales, we can trace its growth and decline through 3,000 years down to its survival in modern Oriental superstition. Furthermore, the parallels afforded by Aryan and Hamitic nations show how close the grooves are in which savage ideas run. While the savage philosopher concept of the 1800s never included things that could only be done in one generation, or came up with in one generation. So that tells you how prejudiced they are. And that the principles of magic are, broadly speaking, coincident in each separate nation, and yet, as far as we know, of independent invention. All these superstitions combine to throw light on many of the peculiar customs of the Old Testament, and to help to explain the hidden reason why these customs existed, from a study of the characteristics of the evil spirits which the Semite believed to exist everywhere. Certain deductions can be made which bear intimately on our knowledge of the origins of certain tabbas and the principles of atonement. We're hinting at the Christian things per se, but they didn't believe everywhere. They believed there could be a place where they're not. Good being everywhere, but evil. But the Christian idea kind of obscured some of what was the general thought among the various types of Judaism and such. This may be briefly stated thus. All evil spirits could inflict bodily harm on man. Islam, for example, does not believe in ghouls or spirits that can hurt people. The physical hurt, people somatically hurt themselves, but there's not spirits that can hurt us or force us to do things in that way of speaking. They can only suggest. 2. The relations between spirits and human beings were so close that both semi-divine and semi-demoniac offspring could be born of intermarriage between them, either of human mothers or fathers, while humans becoming demons is part of most mythological systems. That is a possibility. From this belief in intermarriage with spirits arose the tabbas on certain sexual functions. These, according to the present theory, indicate the advent, proximity, or presence of marriageable demons who would tolerate no meddling in their amours. Hence, the tribesmen, fearing their jealousy, segregated the contaminated person from the rest of the tribe for such time as he deemed expedient. It frequently happened that in spite of the care taken to isolate all persons or things taboo, a man might break an unwitting taboo, and as a result would fall sick from the attack of a resentful spirit. The priest was then called to exorcise the demon, which he was able to do by a transference of the demoniac influence from the body of his patient into some other object. This is the basis of the atonement principle. The priest, first of all, inveigled or drove out the demon from the sick man into a wax figure or slaughtered kid, and he was then able to destroy it. As civilization proceeded, the most probable theory is that the original idea of the slaughtered kid became merged in that of the ordinary sacrifice, representing a common meal with the god, Part of what made Mithraism in its Christian form take on was that so many things were being secularized, and the sacred meal was kind of going away as a common thing. Dedicating your meal to whatever you worship and taking part, and God being present. It wasn't, that was a slipping idea. The carcass of the kid then played the part of a sin offering in the sense in which it is now understood, instead of being a receptacle for the demon cozened forth from the patient. Having proceeded thus far, the principle of substitution for the firstborn demands attention. This apparently takes its origin in primitive cannibal feasts, the horror of which was softened as the Semites advanced in progress, with their migration perhaps to a more fertile land, where the stress of poverty and famine did not demand such extremities as cannibalism, and also from a contemporaneous rise in civilization. It became natural to substitute a beast for a tribesman at the tribal sacrificial feast. The study of taboo from the Assyrian side has been comparatively neglected, and yet the evidence hereto gleaned from the cuneiform writings shows it existed in practically the same forms in Mesopotamia as in other countries. I'd hoped to find more proof of its presence in certain cuneiform tablets dealing with medical and kindred subjects in the British Museum, but my 2 applications for permission to copy unpublished tablets of this nature were refused by the museum authorities. Hence, the material at hand for a study of a most interesting branch of comparative religion is more imperfect than I could have wished, and the relative scientific value of what we actually know on the subject is proportionate to the amount of evidence which may be afforded at some latter date by these privy documents. It is almost unnecessary to say how much I am indebted to Robertson Smith's Religion of the Semites and Fraser's Golden Bough for many quotations bearing on this subject which I have taken from them, to the Encyclopedia Biblica and Jewish Encyclopedia, to that storehouse of Arab folklore, Dotti's Arabia Deserta, to Curtis's primitive Semitic religions, to Skiat's Malay magic, and to King's various works on Assyrian religion. To my uncle, Frederick Thompson, I owe hearty thanks, not only for the care and troubles which he has taken in reading the proof sheets, but also for many appropriate suggestions of which I have gladly availed myself. Such a book as this must necessarily be imperfect, and not everyone will agree with the deductions that have been made. But as Hume says in his discussion on miracles, a wise man, therefore, proportions his belief to the evidence. He weighs the opposite experiments. He considers which side is supported by the greater number of experiments. To that side he includes with doubt and hesitation, and when at last he fixes his judgment, the evidence exceeds not what we properly call probability. R. Campbell Thompson, July 1908. And let me remind you, one of the things that, I'm trying in regards to Alf Braun and into the whatever the narrations that I can get a hold of or take notes on and that sort of thing, that I am earnestly trying to be able to to be able to give some insight that does involve the Arabic only, and to point out the very explicit mentions of the spiritual worlds, not just spiritual teachings, but the spiritual worlds and the beings and beliefs that people have, that sort of thing. I'm trying to bring that out as part of various sections of my channel.